Newcastle's Nobby's Beach car park is well known as a hangout for young people and their cars. Because of noise, litter and at times dangerous driving, Newcastle Council recently closed the car park late at night. So instead of gathering here, they've moved to Bar Beach, congregating nightly opposite these $1 million Memorial Drive properties.
It's mostly the noise. The people start turning up at 11 o'clock at night, and you get quite a few cars and a lot of radio noise and everything else.
They're concerned about what seems to be a mob mentality of a lot of people being here, and I think all their complaints are justified. We need to work out how we're going to deal with that.
Lord Mayor John Tate is working with police to reduce the problems. He says the law is about to get tough.
If they see people doing burnouts, I think they'll be prepared to confiscate vehicles if that's necessary. It's happened before and I believe they'll do it again. Also, the playing of loud music from cars is something that'll be targeted as well.
Yeah, it's extremely loud. So there was one night just recently where it was about 3:30 and I thought it was my alarm clock, but I realised it was just the radios from the cars over the road.
Paul Lobb, NBN News. The large twin service stations on the F3 freeway between Newcastle and Sydney are well known for their convenience. Now a similar style development is underway on the Nelson Bay Road at Williamtown. Twin stations will be built within 6 months, costing $8 million.
One will service the northbound traffic to Nelsons Bay and one will service the southbound traffic back to Sydney and Newcastle.
To be known as Metro Williamtown, the stations will sell mobile fuel and will also house bakeries, coffee shops, a car hire outlet and a car wash to service the four-wheel drive vehicles that access Stockton Beach through Lavis Lane.
With vehicles coming off the road with low tyre pressures, to travel 20 or 30 kilometres on local roads is not real good, so this will improve safety, that's for sure.
Meantime, 5 minutes up the road, another new station is about to be built at Paul's Corner. While the new fuel outlets could put some smaller Port Stephens stations out of business, the net result for motorists will be cheaper fuel and better facilities. Paul Lobb, NBN News.
Most recently, Dr. Adrian Hurley was one of the driving forces behind the successful hosting of the Australian Masters Games. Soon he'll be back in the ranks that he really made his name, coaching basketball. Named the Newcastle Hunters head men's coach.
For Newcastle Hunters to attract Adrian and have him in charge is certainly good news for Newcastle basketball.
Tim Mallon will be the assistant coach to the men's ABA side, while former Falcon Larry Davidson takes over the reins of the female team. The appointments are just the tonic to a basketball community still disappointed at having a recent proposal to re-enter the National League rejected. At Redhead Beach, Swansea Belmont has won the annual Stella Kappa Surf Carnival in trying conditions on the water. A bit smoother on sand, with Drew Langford showing his strength, winning the flags.
The first day back for the Newcastle Knights in 2002, and it seems some in the side could hardly wait. They have little time to get comfortable. A 19-man squad will fly out for England on January 25, ahead of the clash against Bradford for the mantle of best club team in the world.
I think that's a good thing. At least it gives you something to focus on for the next couple of weeks, unlike some teams who've got probably 6 weeks before they play their first trial. So I think it might suit us in some ways.
In others, it doesn't. The NRL premiers have a limited preparation and a number of injuries to top-line players. Tamana Tahu and Ben Kennedy, just 2 of 5 regulars who won't make it to England, with spots open in the back line, especially on the wing.
Some of the candidates there, like Josh Smith, possibly Kirk Gidley, Anthony Quinn might come into the frame, maybe Mark Hughes if we need to put him on the wing, and maybe look at Daniel Abraham in the centres.
The Knights' youth policy will be out in force, with forwards Clint Newton and Matt Jobson in line for call-ups as well.
We just need to fast-track a few things in the next 2 weeks, but I mean they're all in pretty good nick and they've all played plenty of football together.
The responsibilities that fall on the seasoned players are obvious, especially those who have toured England before. As for some of the injured, Kennedy isn't expected to be fit to play for 8 to 10 weeks. Julian Bailey should be right for the season opener, while Clinton O'Brien continues his recovery from off-season knee surgery.
Operation Safe Arrival started on the 21st of December and ended midnight last Friday. During that period, there were 33 accidents where people were injured in the Hunter, 20 less than last year.
Last year, during Safe Arrival, there were 4 motorists killed. This year, during Safe Arrival, there was 2 motorists killed. Unfortunately, that's still too many.
15,200 motorists were pulled over for random breath tests. Of those, only 121 people were arrested for being over the limit, down 38% from last year. 1,030 motorists received speeding tickets, that number also down, while 85 people were caught not wearing a seatbelt, half that for the same period last year. Police have praised motorists for the positive results.
I think you can attribute it to 2 things. One, the double demerit points for speeding and for not wearing a seatbelt over this period.
The second is the outbreak of bushfires and road closures across the state, with fewer families making their holiday pilgrimage. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
For the past 48 hours, Foster Ironman organiser Ken Baggs has been phoning athletes who didn't qualify for the April Ironman but who have been given a second chance.
Some of shock and horror, others are screaming and yelling and telling their friends and rallies and I'm in.
One of those sweating on a wildcard entry was Charlestown Police Officer Brett Gollidge, who was unaware of his entry until NBN got the scoop and broke the news during an interview set up by his workmates.
Well, we're here to tell you you have got a wildcard into the event.
Are you fair dinkum? Really?
Congratulations.
This is the setup.
How do you feel?
I feel great, actually, yeah. Yeah, I know a few mates that are doing it and I thought, well, I've missed out. Oh, great, that's fantastic. Yeah.
The Foster Ironman is a gruelling event involving a 3.8 kilometre swim, a 180 kilometre cycle and a 42k run. And Brett's police workmates are happy for him to remain in peak condition.
We're too slow to chase anybody, so it's whenever we go out, we always take Brett with us. He's the runner in the group.
It's a fantastic race. It's probably the best event to do in Australia, I think, as far as anyone who does triathlons is concerned. And yeah, I can't wait.
Brett will be joined in the race by fellow workmate John Anderson. Paul Lobb, NBN News. Fish kills like this one in the state's north are often the extreme result of acid sulphate runoff into rivers caused by urbanisation, agriculture and industry. Now, staff at the Port Stephens Fisheries Research Station have evidence to suggest that even the tiniest concentrations of acid in water will drive juvenile fish out of their nurseries.
It's the first evidence in Australia that acid runoff may affect behaviour, migration behaviour of juveniles, in this case snapper, but at the moment we're also conducting experiments with other species, in particular yellowfin bream, school prawn and Australian bass.
The experiment involves placing these baby snapper in a running water tank where acid levels on one side are increased. The juvenile fish quickly sense the difference. In this video, one fish goes in for a taste and quickly retreats. If river acid levels aren't managed, the consequences could be severe.
And so fewer individuals may mature into adult snapper, and so in the end fewer adults may add to the stock, and that would have consequences for both commercial and recreational fisheries.
Paul Lobb, NBN News.
The time-honoured event is steeped in history. The launch of the 41st running of the famed harness race was evidence of that. Retired driver Henry Smith attended. He rode in the original intercity pace final in 1962. Since then, plenty of trotters who have raced the event have gone on to bigger and better things, but that's the nature of the pace.
You can bet that a good quality horse is going to go on to win this race. So while we may not have heard of the horse at this stage, by the 19th of January, come final time, a new star in the harness racing circuit could well be born.
Last year's winner, Magical Mike, was trained by Les Coughlin, and he's returning with a Melbourne horse many think can earn him back-to-back success.
It's only very lightly raced. She's a 4-year-old mare, but knowing Les Coughlin and the way he puts the finishing touches on his horses, she's going to be right in the firing line.
Race officials select the 5 heats of 10 purely on form and were forced to turn 20 nominations away, which indicates one thing.
I'd have to say that in my 6 years with the club, both the quantity and quality of the nominations this year is the best I've certainly seen.
It's one of Australia's largest regional events, but this year's Newcastle show will be without its usual supplier of rides, amusements and show bags. Show organisers have decided to use a separate company to manage the rides instead of the Showman's Guild. And because of the absence of the Guild, at least one of Australia's largest show bag suppliers has confirmed it won't be attending. But the greatest threat to the show is the proposal by the Guild to stage a rival event. But show organisers are remaining calm.
And simply we've made a business decision to go with other providers, and the Showman's Guild obviously do not like that decision.
Ray Scanlon says the alternate event isn't a major concern because of the Newcastle show's long-running success. He says some of the best rides have been secured, and just this afternoon confirms some of the most sought-after show bags will be available.
We will have the best show bags that are available in Australia, with all the chocolates and all the goodies and everything else. We have no doubts about that.
So the show will go on, but organisers say more changes are in store over the coming years to make it more of a regional event. The Showman's Guild was unavailable for comment today. Lyndall Derrick, NBN News.
If today's training in the heat was hard, it's about to get much tougher for Newcastle United. After a 3-week break, the team heads south to take on the Melbourne Knights in one of the most unenviable road trips in the league.
Anybody within the football circles, within the soccer circles, will tell you it's a real tough place to go and get a result. A real tough place.
The record of past Newcastle teams proves that, returning just once with the points, and that was almost 10 years ago. But this is a side that's already proved it's different to most, sitting as the only undefeated team left this season. The squad to play Melbourne this time around will include Peter Sakanis and Joe Sharippa, who've battled injury this week.
They've pulled up fine. We'll see how they react to anything tomorrow morning, but they should be fine, yeah.
While it's thought Sharippa will return to the run-on side, the starting 11 won't be finalised until tomorrow.
Me and Gary will sit down over the next sort of 24 hours, just go through a few bits and pieces, look at the tape of them and make our decisions from there.
The match kicks off 6 o'clock Sunday night, but the highlight could well be Wimbledon champion Goran Ivanisevic, who will warm up with the Melbourne Knight before the game. 11th seed at the Australian Open, the soccer-loving tennis ace will begin his real job the following day.
We're having free movies from Wednesday night the 16th down at the Honeysuckle Markets, the Honeysuckle Maritime Movies, showing free open air movies from 8 o'clock every night. On land we've got a free expo.
Day one of the 72-hole tournament, and soon after this morning's tee-off, some early surprises were emerging. Australian amateur number 1 Carly Butler hit an unexpected double bogey on the 10th, but made up for it 2 holes later with a birdie on the 12th. Vicky Hewlin started the day well. A good approach to the 12th, followed by a strong tee shot, putting her in good stead early as she chases back-to-back titles.
Vicky Hewland, the defending champion, she had a bogey early, but she's picked that back up again. She's running it square at the moment, so she's a very big chance in the tournament.
Keeping a close eye on Hewland this morning was previous runner-up Nikki Campbell. Last year, Campbell shot a course record 66 and is emerging as a real threat, putting pressure on top-ranking players throughout today's round. 104 hopefuls began their campaign today, with another 80 starting in the morning.
There's 3 more days of this. 72-hole tournament is very tough for these girls. They can all perform on one day, but they've got to perform on 4 days if they want to take home the title.
Steve Mount, NBN News.
Yesterday, this door to a holding room was barged open by 2 teenage prisoners who then escaped out a side door which had been left unlocked. They were found soon after, but it was the 5th escape at Warramai Children's Court in 10 months.
We do recognise that there are structural weaknesses of that facility, and that is why we've allocated funds in the recent budget to completely rebuild the Warramai Children's Court complex.
But those upgrades won't be finished for 4 years. The Police Association claims at Warramai, juveniles need only jump a back wall to escape. It says security is such a nightmare. In the past 6 months, cells have been firebombed and police attacked.
The building itself is falling to pieces, which enables these young people to arm themselves with bricks, pieces of wood, which they have in the past, and threaten police with them. And it's only really through luck and good management of the police that no one's been seriously hurt at this stage.
Police today voting to boycott working at the court until it's upgraded. The police stand finally spurred the government into action. This afternoon, the Department of Juvenile Justice announced a security fence would be erected in the back holding yard this weekend and ordered urgent talks with the Attorney General's Department and senior police. Those discussions will also look at whether Toronto Court could be used temporarily for children's matters. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
Well, they're playing actually a simulated game. It's probably about 70% contact, so it's a good hit out. And as I said, gives Michael a chance to have a look at how his squad is coming together on the eve of their match over in Britain.
Scott Bailey is just waiting for the call and he'll be on the next flight overseas. But to what destination is another question.
I have an offer in Russia, I have a potential offer in the Ukraine, and I have 2 teams that are interested in Romania.
Almost 32, the defender didn't expect to attract such overseas interest, but has the Newcastle club's blessing to try his luck.
The club's been quite good to me in regards to the release, and especially Crookie.
But just what will happen should he return to play for United after the 3-week trial is another thing.
Might put a few noses out of place, especially the guys who take me spot whilst I'm away. But when I come back, I don't expect to walk straight in.
It certainly opens the door for Todd McManus, who hasn't played a top-grade game this season, especially with fellow defender Chris Zoricic nursing a knee injury. The Kiwi international was a late withdrawal from the Northern Spirit match due to the injury that he suffered in a training session.
When I first did it, I knew straight away that it wasn't good, but I don't think, hopefully it's only going to be 1 week out.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
The intense heat of the blaze left no chance for firefighters to save the factory yesterday afternoon. This morning, a fire brigade investigator combed the scene, trying to work out the cause of the blaze. But the buckled metal remains of the structure meant most of the building was off limits. What is known is that the fire started in this area of the factory, which housed machinery.
The fire brigade cause will be as undetermined. It's possible there was a malfunction in a machine, but we can't find enough evidence to indicate that at the moment.
Meantime, Compass Pool's managing director Ian Mewett also spent the morning surveying the destruction. He estimates the damage bill will be in excess of $650,000, but believes the fire won't have too much of a negative effect on the company.
And we think we can probably regain 90% of our capacity by the end of this week. Of course, we've got the exercise to go through here with our insurers, and plans are already underfoot to rebuild this on this facility.
The news is also good for employees who'll be able to work in shifts at the company's Brisbane plant until a new Hunter factory is completed. Cullen Robinson, NBN News.
Last night's walkout by the ALP caucus cleared the way for the report to be distributed to all councillors. Councillor John Jenkins says he and his colleagues refused to vote because they fear they would be liable for potential defamation action.
When I read on Friday in the paper that the report may have contained defamatory material, I sought advice on that report, and that advice was that I might wish to consider to abstain.
But independent councillor Greg Piper says if the ALP was so concerned about litigation, they would have voted to keep the report secret.
I think reference to possible defamation action is always a good ploy by those persons who would like to perhaps hide or obfuscate the issue.
The councillor at the centre of the allegations, Chris Fotiff, couldn't be reached for comment today. Throughout, he's maintained that he was set up. In fact, it was he who first called for an independent inquiry. He later asked that the findings be suppressed. The issue will again be debated next council meeting. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
Any NSL coach wouldn't mind having this guy as their assistant. But for United, Frank Farina's appearance today was just a one-off. Resident coach Ian Crook, though, didn't mind at all.
Yeah, I think you can safely say that we've probably got an extra yard out of him today.
Not so Robbie Middleby, whose ankle problem has him doubtful for another week, or Chris Zoricic, who has a knee problem. However, Coach Crook will play Scott Bailey should he be available. The 31-year-old was officially released yesterday for trials with overseas clubs, but may not leave until next week.
You know, I'm keeping in contact with Bells, and whenever the news comes up to go overseas, then we'll obviously release him. Now, that could be as late as Friday.
Also under scrutiny, the striking role, with Daniel McBreen pressuring for a start. For a team that's sitting in equal second on the ladder, it's a healthy sign for the coach.
But now it's nice to have the three of them back, really pleasing.
Injury is just the element that Socceroos coach Frank Farina believes will ultimately rule United's premiership chances this season in his assessment of the side.
These things are travelling along quite well and they're getting results. You know, as to whether they're premiership material, sometimes it comes down to a little bit of luck at the end, but I definitely think they can make the six. Once you're in the six, anything can happen.
The squad to play Parramatta this Saturday night will be announced tomorrow. Jim Callanan, NBN News.
"90 teams entered the inaugural NRMA Cup. Today, the captains of the remaining two sides, Balgownie and Hamilton Wickham, took stock of the number one sports ground wicket that'll host the decider.
Looks good. It's got a nice solid base, and by Sunday it should be good. It should be a good all-round pitch. Probably have a look at batting first on it.
It's little wonder Balgownie boasts plenty of in-form batsmen, including the competition's leading run scorer in Glenn Smead. Hamwicks, though, are no mugs with the Willow either, with 5 Newcastle representatives featuring in the lineup's top 6.
Most of the guys have got some representative experience, so we're looking to those guys to get some runs on the weekend.
In fact, with both sides full of city rep players, the final's sure to be a parochial affair, and Balgownie's not worried about facing up on foreign soil.
I don't think that's going to make a lot of difference. We've got a lot of people coming up on Sunday, so hopefully it'll be a good atmosphere, it'll be a good game to watch.
The Cup, meanwhile, comes with a $12,000 winner's cheque, which is sure to be at the back of players' minds. But it seems no matter who wins, it'll be put to good use.
Chris just informed me that his guys are staying up on a Sunday night, so I'm sure whoever wins there'll be a few drinks held at some venues.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News. The old CES building on the corner of King and Derby Streets looks remarkably unchanged on the outside, but it's inside where Finnegan's multi-million-dollar price tag becomes clear. Virtually unrecognisable, it's now an Irish pub with a distinctly maritime feel.
Newcastle itself is obviously a maritime city and has a great maritime heritage, and Ireland itself has a great maritime heritage. The Titanic obviously is not the best example of their shipbuilding, but it has a great maritime history about it.
Finnegan's opened last night after what could only be described as a difficult birth, its original opening date being put back 5 weeks by an arson attack in mid-December.
For the first 2 days it was depressing, but after that you just moved on.
The pub employs 40 people, including casuals, with another 15 to be added with the completion of a second bar and nightclub. Many were recruited through the Salvation Army's Employment Plus, while the furniture was built by the Salvo's This Way Up factory, which provides young unemployed with the chance to learn carpentry and cabinet-making skills. Some would say it's an unusual union, but not the pub.
The Sallies do a great job, and I think as part of the community we should try and support them as much as we can.
Colin Baldwin, NBN News.
The morning rain kept numbers at Spears Point down, but patriotism still prompted many people to brave the elements. Red, white and blue was everywhere, on shirts and on the flags waved by those representing the future of Australia, while the country's traditional owners welcomed the crowd with a dance. And when it was time to raise the symbol of the day, the second largest council in New South Wales put out a flag nearly as big. For 73 men, women and children in Newcastle, the 26th of January 2002 will never be forgotten. With Newcastle's Australia Day ambassador Michael Caton looking on, the new Aussies received their certificates of citizenship.
Australia's given me and my family a good life. Both my children, Brett and Deanna, Australians, they were born here, and I thought it was about time.
In Maitland, children got a whole new look, while budding megastars took part in a busking competition. And although he was singing a song from a band called America, Mitchell from Maitland blew the audience away. From Aberdeen to Hawk's Nest, 17 Hunter residents were honoured with Australia Day awards. Among the recipients, Mrs Chris Lillian McConnell, Teresa O'Brien and Councillor Bill Hanley. Kevin Smith received his for work within rugby league and surf lifesaving circles and shared the moment with his sons.
I feel it quite a privilege to be amongst some renowned and wonderful people that have received the awards in the past.
Cullen Robinson, NBN News. The weekend's 2-0 loss to Parramatta added a slightly worrying trend for Newcastle United. The team hasn't won a NSL match since before the Christmas break, and apart from the odd chance, never looked like threatening the power.
Felt first half that it was a good away performance, nice and controlled in that. We lost our way a little bit in the second half, and got punished for it. But we've got this week now to make up for it.
The loss saw United slip to third on the NSL ladder behind Perth and Brisbane, but it's something that isn't concerning coach Ian Crook.
If we'd have been turning around at the beginning of the season and said we'll be sitting in third place at this stage, I think people would have laughed in our faces. So, no, I think it's been a fabulous achievement to get where we are now. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth is what we was looking at, you know.
One of the main concerns for the team at this stage of the season is niggling injuries, with midfielder Mark Wilson suffering a hip injury. However, Crook says the team will be at close to full strength for its match against defending title holder, the Wollongong Wolves. Cullen Robinson, NBN News.
Security video shows a man wearing a blue hooded wind jacket walking casually into the Newcastle Permanent on Elder Street at 2:50 this afternoon. He forced a male attendant to hand over cash before running outside. Witnesses told police the bandit then escaped down an alleyway across the road. Meantime, last night, 3 teenagers aged between 18 and 19, armed with a bread knife, stormed the day-night chemist in Hunter Street, forcing owner Warren Simpson to the cash drawer. The pharmacist says it was a terrifying experience.
They just burst in and suddenly it was all of a bang and very loud and, where's the money?
With Warren's 22-year-old daughter looking on, he was made to empty the till and the robbers fled. Just 2 days before, another chemist in Hunter Street was robbed in similar circumstances, but this time the thieves stole the security video. And this morning, the 7-Eleven service station at Jesmond was also targeted, while police are appealing for a witness to a robbery at Civic Video at Adamstown yesterday to come forward.
This person has seen them get into a vehicle. What we're asking is that that person could contact us, and so we could gain more information from him.
Police say it's too early to tell if any of the robberies are linked, but they are examining similarities in some of the offenders' appearance and the fact that all bar one used a knife. Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.
It was the council meeting Singleton had been waiting for. Hundreds of residents waited outside chambers, while inside many struggled to hear the proceedings. The meeting was later moved to the Civic Centre so everyone could hear whether council would support the proposal by Tees Services to transform the disused Ravensworth mine into a major waste centre that would take Sydney and Hunter rubbish.
This issue is about the fundamentals of life and one which this community has a right to be listened to, and not only listened to but heard.
Sweden has already banned landfill. Germany is about to.
Alternative solutions were presented, health and environmental concerns addressed, even younger residents spoke at the meeting. But when it came to decide, 8 councillors voted to support the proposal, only 4 were opposed to it. the result prompting a walkout.
Even though that there were over 700 people here tonight, they just weren't listened to.
Mayor Daniel Galenia was one of those who voted in support.
Well, I was swayed by the arguments of the councillors in the meeting tonight, and the motion that I supported was a motion that incorporated the community's concerns.
Council will now ask the Minister for Planning to call for a commission of inquiry. The proposal is in the hands of the Department of Planning. Lyndall Derrick, NBN News.
Catherine Hill Bay turned on perfect conditions for today's Hunter Branch finale. Among those in the water, Swansea Belmont's Josh Blair, who dominated the Open Men's Ironman from start to finish. The former Uncle Toby's competitor showed his skill on the rescue board, paddling hard to win this wave. That put him in a good position to break away from the pack in the ski league, streaking ahead before catching a beautiful wave to shore. A solid swim sealed the event for Josh, with Swansea Belmont teammates Tim Harrison and Chad Griffiths finishing second and third.
And I was quite happy with the way I raced there. Obviously, there's a lot of guys going around for the branch. It's a top carnival for the Hunter, so everyone's out there to try and knock me off, I suppose.
The win capped a solid day for the club across all disciplines of lifesaving.
Swansea Belmont are our dominant club so far. Redhead are nipping on their heels and the rest of the clubs are chasing them, but Swansea have been excellent today. Their performances today are above and beyond what they've done before.
The focus now shifts to the state titles to be held at Blacksmiths Beach in March. The final events for the Hunter Branch Juniors will be held tomorrow.
The finishing touches were being put on the new temporary emergency department today, ready for the changeover on Thursday. But possible industrial action by the hospital's nurses, unhappy with staffing levels in the new building, was something Hunter Health hadn't anticipated, prompting urgent talks.
We'll be meeting and resolving that. I'm confident we'll have a resolution in time for the transfer to occur on Thursday.
John Hunter Hospital's emergency department is the busiest in the state, taking patients from not only the Hunter but from the state's north coast as well. The new demountable buildings will be used for 12 months while the existing emergency department is refurbished. Once complete, it will be double the size.
So we have configured the department for a large, more efficient space. The staff have had heavy input into how they would like to see the department redesigned, and it will be physically larger to accommodate the patients that we see through there.
Tanya Carlisle, NBN News.
The film Point Break is the glamorised story of surfers who hold up banks wearing masks depicting American presidents. The movie aired on the 4th of January this year. Since then, 4 Lake Macquarie businesses have been held up by what's thought to be the same local gang, prone to wearing cartoon masks, including Tweety, Sylvester and Batman.
But it's impossible for me to say whether those offenders even watched the movie or whether they're inspired by the movie. I'm focused more on trying to get the evidence and to catch these people.
But police admit before the movie was televised, the number of cases in the Hunter where the robbers wore masks were reasonably rare. In the latest robbery, 3 men armed with knives and wearing pink kitchen gloves stormed the Liquorwise store at Edgeworth last night.
We were seen to depart from the area in a blue-coloured Ford sedan.
It was the second time in 6 days the attendant has been held up. A day before, a gang targeted the Bullaroo post office, and before that, possibly a Whitebridge chemist.
Well, 2 men have been interviewed and charged in relation to the Whitebridge offence, and we are continuing inquiries to interview those people to see if there's any connection.
Vanessa Trezise, NBN News.